And we're live. Amin, thank you so much for taking the time for taking the time today. It's a pleasure to meet you and have you on my show.
Likewise, man. I appreciate it. Obviously, we had some stumbling blocks to get here, but now we're here.
Hey, that's all that matters. So, real quick, I told you a few seconds ago. Is there a little tidbit, little something that the world might not know about you from what's already out there on the internet?
Um, Maybe perhaps I don't really do so many interviews, not for a specific reason. I just don't really do so many interviews. So perhaps maybe my personality specifically, like as the founder of the brand. So, if people get more insight into who I am and how I am, I guess in general, perhaps they'll have more of an understanding of how the brand came to be and what the inspiration is. So like some people might see just a brand and we're selling product and everything of that nature, but they don't get to see so much of me. So I guess that's kind of what it is, perhaps like me explaining the story and things like that. So I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but maybe just for people in general to get a better understanding of who's behind Stay Cool.
Well, that's what, and that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you is I think that first of all, the brand obviously is really cool in terms of the look, the whole attire. A lot of the people that are repping the gear. I mean, it's been pretty incredible to see. We both have that BU tie, but also, when I looked you up and kind of did a little bit more of a deep dive, as you said, there's a few interviews out there. I listened to those, but I wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and kind of what makes you tick. I guess I'll start it from a place of, did you ever imagine maybe 10, 15 years ago, I mean, you're obviously still young, that today you'd be sitting as the founder of a very successful and up and coming and continuing to do very well, clothing brand?
Yeah, I didn't really think I'd be in this position. I didn't really know what I didn't have a plan, I guess, when I graduated high school of what I wanted to do. Pretty much I went into college with, to BU without having an idea of where I wanted to go. So I wouldn't have thought I'd be in the current position that I'm in, but I guess naturally life kind of took me in this type of direction. But I didn't have a plan to start a brand when I was very young. It kind of happened while I was in college, actually. So I guess it's pretty much a surprise to me, but I tend not to look so backwards. I usually look forward. So I don't even think about it so much like where I was 10, 15 years ago. But if you ask me about it, then I'll tell you, like, I didn't think about like being where I'm at right now.
Have you had a second yet to kind of take it all in over these, past couple years and kind of soak it in that, even if it's not where you want to be in its finality, that what you've done already is quite hard and quite successful?
Yeah, I take it in usually when other people tell me, like when people make statements like you just made, it kind of allows me to kind of resonate and think about where I came from and stuff like that. So, or when a big moment happens, I check a goal off my list or things like that that kind of keep me in check. I think it's important because it's good to remind yourself where you came from. But something I struggle with a lot is, I guess taking it all in and appreciating, where you came from. As I said, I usually don't look backwards so much. I kind of just tend to look forward, but maybe it's not such a good thing. I probably should every once in a while take a moment and just take a step back, take a moment and just appreciate where I came from. And the fact that it was obviously a ton of hard work to get to where I am. So I'm going to do it more often, and every time, as I said, a goal happens is kind of I remind myself, of what it took to get where I am.
So speaking of where you came from, just for the people out there that aren't familiar with your story, give us a little background on where you're from and I guess your quick upbringing, if you don't mind.
For sure. Yeah. No, I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
That's where I'm recording right now.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Dope. Yeah. I'm from Brooklyn. Kind of like 15 minutes from like Coney Island area.
Where at? I grew up all right, born and raised in Park Slope.
Okay, so great, like the kind of Gravesend area, Flatbush area. I don't
Okay.
know if you kind of
Yep.
near like Parkway around there. So that's where I grew up. I went to a private Jewish yeshiva school.
Interesting.
So I guess I wasn't so I didn't in a way like when you go to a school like that, it's more community based. So you're just so familiar with your surroundings, your friends. You're not as open to like the whole world, so to say, kind of vibe. It's very like tight knit. So, when I graduated high school, I didn't have any direction I wanted to go into. My dad has a wholesale apparel company, so I have like the apparel background a little bit, just from seeing what my father did. Um, but I went to BMCC for 1 year, so Borough of Manhattan Community College for 1 year because I didn't really do so well in high school. So I had to go to community college first, and then I eventually transferred into BU. So luckily, I got into BU. It opened my mind up. I met a bunch of friends. I joined a fraternity. Just a bunch of different vibes coming my way, which I think allowed me subliminally to be more creative and keep my mind open. And then when I was at college, I started Staycool. So that's like a very brief background type of.
Now, real quick, I'm very curious about the yeshiva. So you went there from K through 12?
Yeah,
Wow. And which one, or where about in Brooklyn?
Magen David. It's a Sephardic yeshiva in Brooklyn.
And what was that experience like? Because I mean, since I was 2 years old, I drive by all those with my dad, and I always wondered what those private religious schools, whether they be Catholic, Jewish, whatever they are, what it's really like to go from K through 12, and if that's like a particular experience. Because I imagine I went to Beacon, you might be familiar with, in the city, public school, but I don't know, if that was a particular experience that you are open to sharing.
Yeah, that was cool. It's nothing. So it's not like a big story or anything. It was just cool. I had my friends, guys and girls. It was a vibe. It was fun. Pretty. I would say standard. I never went to the public school, of course. So I don't know the other side of it, but I assume it's pretty similar for the most part. I would say.
And so, speaking of, I mean, you kind of said it very briefly. Did you feel like where when you graduated and then you went to BMCC and then BU, do you really feel like that kind of opened your horizons of more of like what's out there in the world farther than just, Brooklyn, your community, New York in general?
I would say so. I hear that even from a lot of friends in general who went to any high school or just when you're growing up, you're in your own bubble for the most part. Not everyone in the world. I could speak for myself and a lot of people I know, but you're in your high school lifestyle. You're surrounded by your friends. You're playing basketball. You're just doing kind of teenager type stuff. So for me specifically, yes, it did open my mind up to go to college, meet friends from around the world. They're interested in that type of music. I have this friend who likes this type of fashion. I have this friend who's interested in this, and this friend who's interested in that. So naturally, when you're being surrounded by so many different types of people or from different types of walks of life, I think naturally you absorb all that, which leads you to maybe get more ideas or do other things. So I think that's where perhaps, yeah, my mind opened up a little bit by, even just walking in on the first day and, you're dorming at BU, for example. I was at West Campus, if you're familiar. So just going there my first day, everyone's doors were open. And you're just walking into people's rooms and meeting people. So I never did that. You're never in that scenario. I was actually thinking about it today, that just being put in those new and uncomfortable type scenarios helps you grow as a person and perhaps even to be an entrepreneur.
What is the most uncomfortable, situation perhaps you felt, not uncomfortable, like uncomfortable, but in terms of newness, as a CEO and founder, and taking on that leadership role that is something that you had to adjust to quite quickly?
Yeah, I guess maybe more recently, when you're trying to be a leader and building your team, and basically, I guess, kind of staying in a positive mindset and being conscious that you have other people with you every day that you have to shed a positive light on. You can't walk in and be all grumpy and mad, or even if something happened all bad other than work, you can't really bring that into the workplace essentially, and you have to always be on your A game to try to lead people in the right way. So I think for me, that's something that's not uncomfortable, but it's something that I'm conscious of and something that I've been learning how to do even better. Is just staying focused and consistent with your employees.
How did you learn that lesson, if you don't mind sharing? I mean, it doesn't have to be a specific anecdote, but
And nothing really happened negative. Nothing like I didn't wake up one day and I got mad at people. Just something that I'm conscious of.
mhm.
Just right when you walk into the office, you have to put everything aside. Obviously, you're a human being after all, but you have to put everything aside and kind of be a leader at the end of the day, because it's not everyone could lead and delegate. And I think that it's a specific skill that it takes time to develop, because from going and working on something in your dorm room at BU to now having to tell people what to do, it's kind of like a different thing that you need to get used to. Yeah.
When did you, for the people that aren't familiar, when did you found Stay Cool, and what year at BU?
So I think it was 2015. So essentially, just to give you like a little rundown of how it started, I was always interested in clothing a little bit. I always I liked going to the stores in Manhattan, the streetwear stores, whatever it was, and I basically told myself, you know what, as opposed to going into every retail store and shopping online and looking for specific pieces that I like, specific designs that I like, why don't I just make something of my own? So essentially, I went on like customink.com, like one of those design websites, and just made a t-shirt for myself. Um, and I wore it myself, and I said, you know what, let me do this again. So I texted 12 of my friends at the time, and I said, do you want to buy this t-shirt that I made? I took a picture of it on my bed and very simply, texted them, do you want to buy it? They bought it.
You still have that T-shirt?
I don't have it anymore, or maybe I
What was
do.
the design? It was that good? What was the design?
Said retro on it, and on
Okay.
the back it said "Stay Cool People" on it. So that's kind of where it came about. I was trying to think of two words that fit together, that have like a saying of some sort. For some reason, I was gravitating towards more of like a saying. So I was trying a bunch of different things. Like one of them said "dope living" or "stay dope" or whatever. I was trying to figure it out. So my friends bought it, and then more people from my hometown were kind of, finding out about the brand, and I made another shirt that said "Vibe" on it, and I just kept going with that. So that's kind of how it initially started, from the start. So I think that was 2015.
And then, so that's your sophomore year?
Yeah, it was my sophomore year at college.
So you're about 19 years old?
Yeah, something like that.
And
18.
then at what point did you feel like, okay, let me, this is more than just, a 12-person group message of, hey, you want this shirt? This is
Yeah,
something
so
legit.
while I was at college, I just kept going with it, trying to drop t-shirts and building an Instagram and doing things a little bit more casually. But I was really grinding on the brand while I was at school. Like I really, after school, after class, I worked on the brand, made designs. I used to work with manufacturers in Boston. Like I really was grinding on it while I was there to be able to work on it full time when I graduate. That was my goal. I didn't want to work for someone else. So I said, I have to work on this hard enough to a point where it's going to be a thing of some sort when I graduate. So that was my goal leading up to it. I always used to ask myself, am I going to do this full time? Could I do it? Is it going to be successful enough? So I kind of put that pressure on myself while I was at school, which it seems like you're doing the same type of thing, which I think is smart. So I put myself in position to be able to hopefully be successful when I graduated. So that's kind of when it kind of, but it never really wasn't like while I was at college I blew up and the brand got a bunch of followers, and then I'm like, let me do it. So everything progressed very naturally, which I'm happy about. Like if the brand blew up when I was in college, I wouldn't know what to do with it because I'm taking classes, so I'm happy the way everything progressed.
I believe you said in another interview that in terms of like the success of Stay Cool, I think you said, I thought it was going to happen quicker, but it's beautiful that it didn't. It all came naturally. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool quote, because I wrote that down. And in that and we'll get into more of that down the line, but that it was a grind. It was hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's I guess a maturity to understanding that process and seeing beauty in that process.
100%. Yeah, I was never the one to see success overnight. I never, yeah, I wanted it in the beginning. I wanted success overnight, but I don't think it really happens like that for most people. Some people, it does actually, but I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Everything I'm learning till this day is coming very naturally and organically. And the followers and the sales and whatever's happening is just coming organically and naturally. And I'm not forcing anything. I didn't rush into any decisions. I didn't make any rash decisions. I kind of was very methodical with how I operated the business. And I think that's the best way to go about doing things. But if you're really passionate about it, you're going to stick with it, and that's what it was for me. So, yeah, it's beautiful that it happened the way it happened. And it's consistently happening like that as well.
I'm curious. You said that when you were thinking in college about setting yourself up when you graduate, you didn't want to work for someone. What is that? I mean, I'm curious. Do you think that you're just not capable of working for people, or is it more like you wanted to be your own boss?
Yeah, I tried to be an intern. I was an intern because I had to do certain requirements for high school, and I interned by my father, which was a good experience. And I interned somewhere else. So I don't know. It just didn't click for me, honestly, to be in a like not be my own boss. I guess I always just had that desire. Maybe it's the way I was brought up, seeing my father, be his own boss, or perhaps just my surroundings, or it's a personality trait. Perhaps I just like being in control of my own destiny, per se. So that's just, I guess, who I am as a person. I just want to be in control, and I just, yeah, want to be successful.
Were you did you always have this as a kid where you wanted to be successful, or would you even say you were disciplined as a kid? Because when you're in college and you're going from class to shipping out your things and designing and all that manufacturing, I mean, there takes a quite disciplinary
Yeah.
personality trait.
Honestly, man, when I was in high school, I didn't have good grades. I didn't really do so well in class. I was like I would say the school wanted to make it like not an example out of me, but I didn't listen too much, which was, maybe not great, but perhaps that answers your question. The fact that I, wanted to do my own thing, and maybe that's what led me to have that drive of, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the same type of personality type of vibe, like not going against the rules, but just doing my own thing, which I don't recommend, not paying attention to class. I don't recommend that, but I guess that's just what happened with me. But maybe also it was kind of like I wanted to just prove to myself that I could be successful in something, and I just had that desire to want to succeed and do something on my own. Yeah.
Were your parents supportive of it as you started
Yeah.
the whole brand?
Very supportive. You know, uh, yeah, full support throughout A to Z, which is really amazing. My friends supported me. I think in the beginning, some people back in my hometown were they didn't really understand what I was trying to do, because like 5, 6 years ago, running a clothing brand wasn't as like prominent as it is now. So I think, I was getting some, not haters, but people saying, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you trying to do?" This, I think that also, fueled my fire a little bit to want to be successful even more so. So yeah, but from a support level, thankfully, I had full support from my parents and friends.
So were there, I mean, I want to, pick your brain at some of those moments that along the way, because I have a bunch of like startup CEOs or people that, that end up very successful, but they always have those moments where they're just like, holy fuck, there's no chance this is working. I'm sure that there were a few similar moments that you might have thought at some point, man, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Honestly, man, I had a thought like that this year, or not, I had a thought like that this year. So I think that, obviously in the beginning, in a way, in the beginning, you don't really have those thoughts as much. Like me, I didn't have those thoughts as much, maybe because like you're just thinking it's all on the up. Like you're just so low. So how much lower could it get?
Right.
You know what I mean? Not low, but like you're just starting. So it's
But
like,
what was that low? What does that low look like or what did that low look like for you?
when
Like,
like
let's say back then, back when you first started.
not knowing how to do anything. Like when I graduated college and decided to work on Staycool full time, I didn't know how to run a company. I didn't know how to really work on it. I was working on it from my apartment or dorm room. So it's basically taking it from being a hobby to a real thing was a very difficult transition for me. So all of those different things hitting you at once. I walked to my father's office. He gave me like a little room after graduating, and I was like, all right, this is the real thing now. Where are you going? What's first? What's your day to day like? What's your schedule? What are you doing every day? Are you even going in every day? You can technically hang out with friends all day. So it's like, I guess I don't think about it too much, but now that we're chatting about it, that's kind of where it's at. But that was maybe hard of figuring out how to take it from being a hobby at school to a reality. It's very difficult. It was difficult for me to make that transition, and I'm still learning as I go.
And I mean, if you're comfortable sharing, even like the most recent time where you had the doubt, like what are some of those like why did something like that arise?
Yeah, I guess just like, if you have a bad month or you have I overthink things a little bit. So if you have a bad month or something didn't sell as well, I think, oh, do people not care anymore? Or, why are they not liking this stuff? So it's kind of like pivoting and learning, but that in itself, even earlier this year, it was a learning experience. We made some decisions that we had to we had to change some things. We had to pivot a little bit in certain areas. So I think that, not to say that moment or feeling is going to happen a lot, but at the end of the day in business, there's ups and downs, and you have to just ride the wave and stay focused and make decisions on the fly, so to say.
Have you felt yourself maturing through this process?
For sure. No, definitely 100%. I think I definitely matured in this process, whether that's in a business sense, whether that's in a personal sense. As I said, even delegating and being having a team, that in itself, I think, is a maturing process. Learning how to delegate and how to communicate the right way, whether it's someone who's older than you or younger than you. I think 100% I matured, and if you're learning, you're maturing. So I'm learning new things every single day. So I would say 1,000% I matured throughout the process of running Staycool.
Is there one maybe a personality trait that you've developed on a personal level that's stemmed from this running a company?
Yeah, I would say perhaps maybe like consistency, like transparency, like being just very upfront and being clear. Like, I guess more maybe like in a communication sense and yeah, perhaps in like in a communication sense. Would you ask me again? Just
If you feel like you've developed like a new side of your personality or a personality trait just based on the experiences that you've had.
Yeah, I guess it's like a hardworking consistency type of vibe. I don't know if that even makes sense. I don't think about it too much, but perhaps just like really wanting to be successful, grinding, growing. I'm just trying to grow in every way, pretty much, not only business wise, mentally, physically, spiritually. I'm just trying to elevate in all senses. That's where I'm at right now.
Spirit for your own self, for spiritually and all else. I mean, are you able to take some time and do that?
For sure.
Are you a meditator?
I'm not really a meditator per se, but I meditate in my own way. I whatever that may be, but I try to take time for myself to just grow in every single way.
What are some of the best ways that you relax when you're not working?
Good question. I guess I try to take time and I guess reflect on my day and I guess connect with what I'm doing and kind of have an understanding of where I'm going as well. Just kind of relaxing, and I like going for bike rides. I like reading books sometimes. Obviously, hanging out with friends and whatnot. But I do like taking time for myself and really just sometimes being alone and just thinking about where I'm at and I guess where I'm going and think about my goals and things of that nature. So that's kind of the type of person I am.
Where do you so this word grow or growth? I mean, obviously it's important on a business level, personal as well. Um, for you, how do you continue to scale the business?
Yeah, good question. There's many different ways to scale, I guess. In my perspective right now, we're trying to do many different things like collaborations, getting into wholesale, meaning working with more stores, working with more influencers. So there's many different ways that you can achieve growth, I guess, from like a sales perspective. So we're just trying to tap into every single way to diversify ourselves and not be kind of one dimensional. We started at first only selling online and maybe, not working with as many influencers. So we're just trying to basically diversify the way we do business and operate, which I think will lead to growth.
For you, so speaking of some of those collaborations, I believe that, and you've done a bunch at this point, but I believe that there was one with Lil Dicky, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Well, yeah, we did one with Lil Dicky. We did a few. Honestly, there's going to be more collaborations. That's a big goal of mine in the next coming years. We're tapping in. I had a few phone calls earlier this month that I'm excited about. We have something coming in September, which is dope. But yeah, Lil Dicky was a great collaboration. We made merch with him. I was always a big fan of his. He's been repping Stay Cool for a while, maybe like 5, 6 years now. So always wanted to work with him. He actually wore Stay Cool on his TV show Dave
wow?
that season, if you're familiar with the show. So I reached out to him right after he wore it in one of his promos, and he never answered me for like many years. So he finally answered me. I think I commented, "Yo, let's make merch or something." So he finally answered me, and then we got connected, and we worked on like 6 to 8 pieces. I think the collection was. So that was really really like a full circle moment for us. And yeah, I think he just loves the brand and the vibe.
I think I first saw your stuff when I think when I saw Jayson Tatum rocking it and Pete Davidson. I mean, for you, it's got to be pretty cool to see, especially if you're like just watching Dave or you just catch it on a promo where it just kind of like catches your eye and you're like, wait, hold up, like I know what he's wearing.
Yeah, no, it's dope. It's really like it always that those types of moments also allow me to like reflect and have, it's funny because you see it as a like you see, for example, I got a photo of Pete Davidson wearing my hoodie last week in Manhattan. And to me, I'm just getting the photo, right? So I just see it. I see the photo like an asset. Like, all right, I'm gonna show everyone that Pete's wearing my hoodie. It's dope. But I would love to like run into him wearing my hoodie. A whole different vibe. Like I see the photo, or even like chilling with Jayson Tatum in the same room while he's wearing my stuff. I want those moments. Obviously, I'm not, selfish. I appreciate the other moments too, but like, I want to be with Lil Dicky while he's wearing my stuff. I want to see it in person because it's in reality, but I'm just getting a photo. So it hits, of course, but it's going to hit harder when I see these people in person.
I have a question from a business perspective. Do you find that you guys have more success when an influencer reps your merch, or when you have a little collaboration?
It's a good question. I think both kind of help. Both help. It really depends. When an influencer wears your product, it's really like a stamp of approval. Obviously, the collaboration is kind of the next level of that
Right.
because not only did you get the stamp of approval of them wearing it, you're working with them. So it's kind of like the next level of that business relationship. But I think both go hand in hand. Both could really help you grow, and it's just a good look overall. Like, for example, Hailey Bieber was wearing our polar fleece, so to be able to show that in our brand deck and show people that we had that stamp of approval of someone who people look to for a fashion sense, it's just a good look on my end, and it makes me happy as the business owner to know that they could wear whatever they want. They're getting free clothes. People are paying them to wear things, and they choose to wear Stay Cool. So that makes me happy as well. So all in all, it does contribute to growth and success when you have these big names wear the product.
Do you measure your personal success using the metric of Stay Cool's success?
Great question. Honestly, I was struggling with that for a bit, like being so connected to the brand. For example, if Stay Cool had a bad day, it makes me unhappy, or if Stay Cool had a good day, it makes me happy. Being so connected to the brand, I kind of disconnected this past year. Not in a bad way. I just disconnected and kind of stepped aside a little bit, and basically um, didn't make myself so attached to the company. And you want to, at the end of the day, create your own legacy as a person, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, I just do Stay Cool." So something I struggled with a little bit is kind of being so tied to the brand and allowing it to like consume me and be who I am. But at the end of the day, after everything's all said and done, it's a company that I'm running while I'm here on this earth. It's dope. I love it, but I can't let it become who I am as a person, A to Z. If that makes sense. I try to separate myself and have bigger goals than just being successful and hitting my revenue markers.
Yeah, I mean for sure, but I think it also does show in a lot of ways how much you care, and how much you're invested in. I guess in a weird sense, this is like your little baby. You know what I mean? That
It
you've
is.
grown since for 5, 6 years.
It is. See, on the flip side of what I was just saying, it is a part of me as well. It is like my baby, as you said. My goal is to do it forever. I don't want to really do anything else. At least that's just in my head right now. So I do see myself working on Stay Cool for as long as I'm here. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like I sometimes battle through the emotions. Like, wait, you're on this earth, right? And then when it's all over, I guess you think to yourself, wait, you're working so hard, and then really, is that what life's all about? So,
Right.
but sometimes you can't go too far in that way, because that could make you not want to grind, and you can't go too far the other way of grinding too hard. So you have to be in the middle.
I think we're both big Brooklyn overthinkers, is what it
Yeah,
is.
no, it's true on it. Everything I'm saying is
I
true.
know.
It's people might not, it's just being conscious. You're going to grind 24/7. At the end of the day, you're going to be unhappy, you're going to be overworked, overtired. Is that really what it's all about? No. So you have to have the balance in a way, but I'm happy where I'm at right now.
I do think that, but I do also believe that many successful people are successful because they just never had, or they didn't have balance, at least when they were coming up, and they just were fully into their idea. But I do agree that for your mental health and your mental well being, and I think it's also a sign of maturity for you, is like in the beginning you tied your happiness to sales or revenue or whatever it might be, and now it's more it's not like that.
So yeah, in the beginning, I did have no balance. I was just grinding like crazy.
You
Not
have to.
You have to. So I'm not at a point now. Like technically, I'm still grinding
Of
24/7. I
course.
show up in the office. I'm working on the brand. The brand doesn't leave my mind all day, but it's kind of like I treat it a little bit differently now. It's not all about Stay Cool. My whole life's not about Stay Cool 24/7 in a sense where it's like it allows me to be happy and unhappy. So I guess I disconnected in that sense. But of course, it's on my mind all day, every day, and I just want to see it succeed. But yeah, when I was coming up, it's like that different level. You know what I mean?
Was there one goal when you first started the company that you had in mind of what it would become? A vague goal.
Yeah. Um, Not really one goal. I wanted to be successful, in general. I want to be able to do it. I wanted to be able to do it full time and be able to just, have it be successful.
But never like, oh, I really want to collab with X person or Y person. That'll make my whole experience with Stay Cool all the worth it.
I don't have one final goal like that. I have many goals, like so many. So it's just like if I had one, I'm cutting myself short right there. I have so many goals, it's endless.
If I told you, so some of those goals, if I told you where Stay Cool is at in perhaps 5 or 10 years, what are some of those goals within those next 5 years or a decade?
For sure. Um, yeah, good question. Many, whether it's collaborating with specific brands that I'd like to collaborate with, or obviously hitting revenue markers and hitting sales that I want to hit, or getting in this many stores, or you know, growing my team, specifically like specific goals of where I want to take the brand, like big picture goals is really expanding Stay Cool into different sectors of business. Those are like my bigger goals. I studied hospitality at BU. I went to the School of Hospitality. So while I was there, I didn't know this, but now that I graduated, I kind of have a goal to expand Stay Cool into the hospitality sphere specifically. So for example, whether that's putting my Stay Cool mark and aesthetic and vibe into physical experiences, whether it's like a Stay Cool diner or a Stay Cool motel or a Stay Cool cafe or coffee shop, whatever it might look like. So those are like my big picture goals of expanding the brand into those types of sectors of business. I don't want to limit myself to just apparel. Obviously, I like clothing, but I just feel like there's more to Stay Cool, and the aesthetic and the vibe and everything's very strong with the brand that I do feel like it could be placed on more than just a hoodie or a jacket. I don't want to limit myself. So those are like my big picture goals of where I want to take the brand in the future.
Speaking though of the hoodie, I think this is I got it last week, the multi one.
The 80s hoodie. That's my favorite piece of all time.
See, I really like this one. I haven't taken it out of it's also really hot in here, so I won't wear it right now. But so people that want to see this, hold on. Can the camera catch it? Yeah, they can catch it. You can feel it is very good quality, I really have to say. And it's got the whole little different colors all over. So who comes up with, is it you who comes up with most of the designs, or you have a design aspect of the team?
I come up with every single idea, pretty much A to Z. I conceptualize the concepts, conceptualize the graphics and everything that's going to be on clothing. And then I have a graphic designer, implement and create the actual graphics. But from an idea creation point of view, I pretty much come up with the ideas, and then I have our designer put it on paper and kind of complete it. Obviously, they also bring ideas to the table. But for the most part, from a conceptualization point of view, I'm coming up with most of the ideas.
And so what does that look like when you're kind of conceptualizing? Are you then like writing it down, drawing?
Yeah, I kind of seek a lot of reference and inspiration, and gather photos and pictures and, specific or around specific concepts that I could compile and then give that over to a graphic designer. So it might be something I see in the road. It might be something I see on the street or on eBay, on Depop, or just finding or surfing the web, for like vintage type inspiration. I just kind of compile it, and then I delegate that over in a clear manner to my designer. And then she kind of helps implement it on paper. And then that's just the design process. Then it's obviously, what is that design going on? Is it going to be embroidered? Is it going to be printed? Is it going to be on a t-shirt? Is it going to be on a hoodie? How big is the graphic going to be? What color is the hoodie going to be? So there's so many different intricacies that people might not know of what goes into it. Someone just sees the final product, but as I said, how big the graphic's going to be? What's the print style? Who's making it? Is it going to be that manufacturer? This one? So many little nitty gritty details that go into it.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about the fashion industry and running your own fashion brand?
Perhaps that people think it's easier than it is. Obviously, a lot of people want to run a brand and run their own company in general, but as I said, there's just a lot of different details that go into it, from A to Z, from production to, for example, now you have this hoodie. How are you getting people to buy it? You have to market it. You have to create content around it. You have to put it on the website. There's just a lot of different steps. If you want to do it successfully, there's just a lot of things to do. But that's just business in general. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But if you're passionate about it and you're willing to put in the work, then you're just going to make it happen. So I don't know if that's a misconception per se, but perhaps, that's just what it is.
And I mean, it's got to feel good though to I mean, so you have like a little headquarter office?
Yeah. So I have an office in Manhattan.
Okay. Where at?
It's in Midtown,
okay,
on 33rd Street, kind of near like Broadway area. So we were in my father's office with my team for since I graduated for like 2 to 3 years. And then earlier this year in October, we moved into the space. So if you go on the website later, whenever, you can see what the space looks like. But in general, it's a very colorful, vibrant type of space. And it really represents the brand and its aesthetic and its identity. Anyone who walks in here just feels the brand. So that I wanted that for the space, and that's kind of how I want to build the future spaces too.
Are you looking to continue to grow your team?
Yeah, no, for sure. In a natural sense, yes. As I was saying earlier, I don't want to force anything. I'm not going to just hire people just to hire them to feel like I'm doing things.
Right.
Some people, when they start a company, the first thing they do is hire people. Oh, let me get an employee for every little asset of the company. So I kind of take my things a little bit slower when it comes to bringing new people on, because you really want to have them do things that will help grow the business. I don't want to hire just to hire, because at that point, for example, if you bring someone on and you don't really need their work, then you're just, at the end of the day, that thinking about that's taking time away from doing other things. So yes, I do want to grow the team, but essentially growing the team is like, as the company grows is when I'll grow the team.
What kind of people do you look for, or maybe that you're actively looking for in terms of growing the team?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the specific requirement, the specific position. But generally someone who, preferably has experience within the streetwear clothing type of industry. It's preferred. Obviously, if they don't, it's fine. But that would be preferred. And if they have an understanding of the types of brands, or just have an understanding of what we're doing, maybe even from a social media sense or from an Instagram sense. Or, for example, if someone doesn't know what Instagram or TikTok is, they might not know where the brand lives. So certain kind of things like that, of just having understanding of what's going on, I guess, is important to me, as well as people who are creative and who could think outside the box. But in general, it depends on the position.
To wrap things up, if I tell you stay cool in 50 years, is it running the world?
Yeah, stay cool in 50 years. What am I going to be? I'll be like 75 at that
Damn.
point.
Maybe, yeah. Hopefully well retired and just watching from a distance.
Yeah,
No?
well retired, I'll be chilling at that point. But yeah, the goal is for Stay Cool to really be way past clothing, whether it's like, I think there's going to be like a Stay Cool city at that point, like a real city. Like there's going to be a Stay Cool
I love it.
arcade and a cafe. It's going to be like a whole city, and every house, every apartment, every little store will be under the Stay Cool umbrella. So like that's what I'm thinking in the future, really long term, is really to just build more than just a t-shirt or a hoodie. Obviously I love that, but I just want to put my mark and the brand identity on more things, because I know there is potential and I know the aesthetic is very specific. And I don't know if you could, but show people the office and the space just so they have an understanding of what the vibe looks like.
And so first, if they want to buy things, obviously staycoolnyc.com. And then there's a bunch more info there. But I mean, thank you for taking the time. It's pretty cool for me, honestly, to see, because I guess in a lot of ways we have very parallel paths, even if I'm not in the fashion industry, of both growing up in Brooklyn, ending up at BU through a transfer, and grinding on our own separate things at a young age. So I do really appreciate and I'm rooting for you.
Thank you, brother. I forgot that you transferred also, so that does make us a little bit more on the same path. Rooting for you as well. I appreciate your consistency. I think that's a good trait. And honestly, if you weren't as consistent, I probably would have just like pushed it off. But
I hope I didn't, because you always got to find the fine line of persistence and pester. And I hope I hit that fine line of making sure it happened, because sometimes you got to push things so they happen.
I wouldn't be here if it was too much of a pester. So I guess you did hit the fine line perfectly, and I might even learn from you of how to reach out to people.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, and I hope that people can go check all that out. And on Instagram is what for Stay Cool? Staycoolnyc?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.